Welcome to Ladies of Another View on Beck. It is a beautiful day in North Dakota.
So nice.
It's in the 60s. And I know every day that we come on, we talk a little bit about the weather. It's like it was negative 40 last week. So now we truly are 100 degrees warmer than we were 2 weeks ago.
It's awesome. And my grandkids were riding their bikes and now they're headed home to Minnesota to snow.
Awesome.
I just want you to know I walked out on our deck this morning. Well, it was towards noon. And we have a lot of sun back there, and it is a wood floor, and I stepped on it with bare feet, and the wood was warm under my feet. It was heaven.
What a great
I pretended I was on a beach. It was the best.
It was the best.
It was
so
awesome.
I'm Mary Grainer, and today we have Jan with us, and we have Carmen, and we do have a guest that's coming up, and actually Andrea is going to be joining us as well from Florida. So anyway, but we're going to talk a little bit about cancel culture today. This has been something that's been bothering America for that matter. It's on every channel. I don't even know where to begin in a sense. They want to pretty much hide what has happened in America and then just move forward with a new history in a sense. I want you to take a look at this one quote that I found from an elderly man. He said, "History is not there for you to like or dislike. It is there for you to learn from it. And if it offends you, even better, because then you are less likely to repeat it. It's not yours to erase. It belongs to all of us."
Amen.
Isn't that a powerful statement?
Truly. Well, this whole cancel culture thing, when it first came about, everybody's talking about how cancel culture is something that we want to avoid. I'm like, cancel culture? What's that?
Yeah, it's a new term. It's a new term.
And it's like, it's just negating everything that really is and filling in the blanks with your own idea of what reality is.
Right. And doesn't it get into, it's almost like for me, who gets to define normal?
True.
Who got to figure out what that term would mean? What's normal to us in North Dakota? Do you think that's normal to New Yorkers? I don't think so. But somewhere there's some gurus somewhere that have decided this needs to be canceled and this needs to be canceled and that really needs to go. And it's like, who gets to decide that? Is it a select few, or is it the majority of this country that decided we needed to suddenly lose half of who we are? I mean, who got to decide that? And pull the plug on it.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the very small minority, and you can take any group, and I'm not being derogatory towards any group, but whether it's a gay group or a race or just anyone who's on the outskirts, it seems like we have to take that opinion and lift that one up higher than the majority. And there's nothing, I'm not here to judge anybody, but it's like the old saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Exactly.
And if somebody's feelings are hurt, I mean, I should put it this way. Father Josh, this weekend in his sermon, he said, because there was that situation where they had the wedding cake, that this couple didn't want to make the cake for this gay couple.
Right.
All right, it's a small business. It was their prerogative. And it's like, they were saying, but you can't hurt their feelings. You can't hurt that gay couple's feelings. And it's like, no, wait a minute. Father Josh said, you know what? My feelings are hurt. What about my feelings? And it's like, we all have certain feelings and we all have, a certain concept of what we believe in, but we can't be forced to accept someone else's idea because it hurts their feeling.
Oh, but that's what they're going for.
But you know what? And that's the whole point of our society right now. It has become all about your feelings. It's not about right and wrong anymore.
Correct.
It's how does it make you feel? And the term "suck it up," my kids were very familiar with that growing up. It's like, suck it up.
Right. Everybody gets a trophy now, too.
Yeah,
Yes,
you're not going to change the world, so you better learn how to deal with it.
Hey, ladies.
A lot of reality, though.
Look who joined us just now.
Hello.
Yeah. Hey, Andrea. We must have had a little techie issue there. How's it going in Florida?
So far, so good.
So far, so good.
Yay.
Great. Well, we're talking a little bit about cancel culture. Do you see any of that down in the Florida area? Or, we all get the same national news, I'll put it that way. But what is the feelings like in your area?
Ooh, there's
So
that word.
Like it's the same as most anywhere else, I think. But I think that So what bothers me about the canceling Dr. Seuss specifically, it's kind of funny because I've never been one to get super excited about him specifically because he did a lot for early literacy. He intentionally created some works that are very readable, very decodable texts, things that are accessible to young readers, and things that are fun to read alongside an adult because you hear an adult saying a nonsensical word and it just sounds funny and it makes you laugh. So he did a lot of good work in that area specifically. And in fact, he became a bit of a hero for the leftist teachers unions. And this is why it's kind of how much do I care about Dr. Seuss, because he was their fundraising champion. They would trot out his books and people in a Dr. Seuss hat every year as a part of their fundraising initiatives. And now all of a sudden they want to just toss him to the curb and as if he's a bad person or something. But no, he did do a lot of good. In fact, you not only you understand and recognize the good that he did, you leverage that for fundraising initiatives, and now you're mad. I don't understand that.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to have a whole segment on Dr. Seuss later in the show, so I can't wait to talk more about that because there's so many books that are being canceled, and that's just one of them.
Well, and cancel culture, can I just hop in and say, they're wanting to take away all this history, but that's exactly what was going on in Nazi Germany. And yeah, I'll put that out there and I don't care who hears it, because if we don't know our history, we're doomed to repeat it. And if people would start to study what led up to Hitler coming into power and what he did in power, and he burned books, and books were not allowed, and you see school libraries pulling certain books off the shelves and not allowing them. They've even banned Little House on the Prairie, for God's sake, and removed her award that she had gotten as an author in 2018.
So what was the reason? Because I'd heard something
because
about
of
that,
how she portrayed, I think, some of the Native American things back in those times. And she wrote at a time where I'm sure that was the social norm. And if it's offensive today, then it proves that it should be in our conversations so that we can discuss it, so that we can come to more understanding of each other's cultures and the times then and the times now. I think it's so important to keep all that so that we can have those talks. How do you move forward if you don't know what forward looks like because you don't know where you've been?
Right. You know, when you, and I don't want to cut you off. I know you have a thought right
That's
there.
okay.
But this reminds me of, there's a legislator that's in a little bit of hot water. What if we opened up every file at the Capitol and took it based on today's super hypersensitive standards? You're saying the
Right.
same thing. She
Right.
wrote a book in the 1800s and it's offensive today, but it
Right.
wasn't offensive in the 1800s.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
Well, it was all about the truth at that time. And now, you know, things have moved on. There's sayings from 1940 that we don't use today because things have evolved.
Right.
Same thing with that. But that doesn't mean that they didn't use it back in the 40s.
Right, and it doesn't mean it wasn't normal.
Yes.
They got to define normal different back then, you know,
Right.
We're
whoever they
kowtowing
are.
to the woke mob, and it's
yes.
unfortunate.
And you know, and you said it too. You know, I think it's equal justice for all, and that's where the rub comes in when certain groups want to be elevated above other
Sure.
groups, and that's where we get into trouble
Sure.
if we're going to.
We're going to have to pick up in our next segment on that, though, Carmen. Great points. We'll be right back after these messages on Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
There's nothing more important than family. And at Prairie Rose Family Dentists, we get it. That's why we have more locations, more dentists, specialists, extended hours, pediatric clinics, and even emergency appointments, so you can always be seen. Book your appointment today at prairierosedentist.com. Prairie Rose Family Dentists. We are family.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Pub 21, your one stop for fun, drinks, and food. Our spacious facility provides COVID-safe fun for you and all your friends. With nightly bingo and specials, you can be sure there's something to do for everyone. If you're staying in for the night, we've got you covered just across the way with Pub 21 Liquor. We have a wide variety of options, from wine to whiskey and everything in between. Stop in today at 1014 South 12th Street in Bismarck to see what all the buzz is about. You won't be disappointed.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. We are so excited. We have a guest with us. She's a dear friend of mine. I've known her for probably 10, 15 years, but our families probably have known each other forever. I think the Greiner family and the Froehlich family go way back.
Right.
And I've known your husband for a while, but this is Kathy Froehlich, and she is down from the Selfridge area, and that's on the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation.
Right.
Yes?
Right.
And she's going to tell us a little bit about her culture and about how we're going to keep everyone's cultures and traditions and celebrate it rather than trying to cancel a culture. We're going to celebrate each other's cultures. And so one of the things that I found so interesting lately is I went to the museum and they had that wet plate artistic, or he did a book, but he did all those wet plate photographs. And we have one, if we could pop that up on the screen for a moment. This is Kathy right here.
Wow.
So tell us a little bit about that photography and how that came about.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to Shane for the work that he's done and dedicating hours and hours of taking photos of American Indian tribal people. And so I was invited to be a part of that, and it was so exciting because all of those photos go into, of course, the archives at the Heritage Center. So when he asked me, I chose to wear this dress here, and it was made by an elder from Fort Berthold, and she made it for her granddaughter, and I was able to, well, I came upon it, and so I've had it for many, many years. So when I go to the celebrations, and Whitechell is my home, so I usually, I try to wear it and display it. But anyway, so I want to thank Shane for all the work that he's done.
And that was Shane Balkowicz,
yes,
isn't it? Yes.
Right. And the technique he uses is in itself historic. He's one of the few that uses the wet plate.
And so how were you chosen? How were you chosen? Could you apply for it, or did someone recommend your name, or how did the people get chosen?
Well, it was pretty much word of mouth.
Oh.
And he made a goal of taking 1,000 photos of American Indian people. So when you see his volume 1, there are photos and photos of American Indian people, local, and even from other states that came.
Okay.
So it was pretty much word of mouth. But when you look through those photos, I think it's interesting that most of them are wearing traditional regalia. But in there, as you look through it, there are doctors and lawyers and tribal chair people, people from all walks of life that are in there. and they're wearing their traditional, whatever tribe that they come from.
Wonderful.
So yeah, it's beautiful. Beautiful work.
And we have a copy of the book. She sent us a photo of that. If we could pop that up, it's by Shane Balkovich, and I think, is it on Amazon, or how can we get a copy of the book?
Yeah, Amazon.
Amazon?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the cover of the book, Northern Plains Native American wet plate photography. So that's the cover right there. But very, very interesting. So I noticed that you say American Indian. So
Right.
what, you know, today with cancel culture, there's different ways to say that. Some say, oh, you can only say First Nations now, or some people say, oh, it's American Indian. Some people don't like to be called Indian. What is the correct terminology nowadays? Is there a right or wrong answer?
I don't think there's really a right or wrong. Of course, Indian plays back to history when Columbus came here, and of course he was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Exactly.
So he named the people that he found here Indian. Indigenous is another term that I like to use, you know, because indigenous refers to the first peoples.
Right.
That's another term. So
First Nation.
First Nations, right? But of course, it all comes back to every tribe has its own name for itself. So, Gohta Dade, Dunahe, Wenadona Gate, Kathy Froehlich is my name. Tatajita Asahnish. And so what I just said was, my name's Kathy Froehlich. It's good to see you all. And we call ourselves Sahnish, which means first people.
Okay.
And Navajo, that was a name given to them, and that name that they call themselves is Dene. And of course, the Sioux, that was given to them, and they call themselves Lakota or Dakota or Nakota. So when you look at layers of culture, and you look at the historical part, you have to think about all these different things, all these different layers that are a part of culture.
Sure.
Most of us just see the surface.
Right.
You know, dress, dance, song, but you don't see the underparts. And with Sahnish culture, there's language, which is endangered, spirituality. You can't separate spirituality from our Sahnish culture. And I think about you because I come get your corn.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Well, a big part of Sahnish spirituality is Mother Corn. And that's a big part of our ceremonies, our rituals, is about Mother Corn and the fact that she came to us to help us survive and to protect us. So one time I asked my mom, I said, well, how was it that we were able to accept Catholicism or Christian beliefs? She said, because they're so similar. Mother Corn, Mother Mary, smudging with sage. What does the priest do at Christmas time, or, you know, he walks through, you know? So we talked about this, the fact that if we really look at each other, we are really more similar than we are different, you know? And I think we have to keep reminding ourselves that.
Right.
You know, if we're going to get ahead as a society and a culture, we're going to have to remember and value, like you said, the good of each other, in each other. But I remember we talked about, tell the story about the language. Your mother's German.
Oh, well, yes. So this weekend, and we only have about a minute and a half of this segment, I'd taken my mom to church, and then we went out for breakfast afterwards. And my mother had gotten in the car, and I said, "Guten Morgen," and she goes, "Guten Morgen," and then blah 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 blah. And it's like she was speaking in German. My mother's first language was German. She did not know a word of English before she went to first grade back in the day. And that's the way my dad was as well. And so it was just so interesting. But they were forced to learn the English language because that was pretty much the language of the land.
That was the norm.
It was the norm. And so the same way with the Native Americans, your language was, in a sense, taken away as well. But everyone was, it was all supposed to be English language, which now in hindsight, I wish I would have caught on to my German language. We all have a heritage.
Yeah.
I did take German in high school and college, so I do know a little bit. I can get by with it, but I understand. And then when I lived in South Dakota, I had bought, and it was the cassette tapes back then, but how to speak Lakota.
Right.
And so I did try
Wow.
to practice that a little
Wonderful.
bit. Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
And my dad, same way. When he started elementary in a country school, first grade, all he knew was Norwegian. That was
Norwegian.
it. Yeah. And so he had to learn the language. And then, of course, you hear families today even that they'll take the English language home to their parents and teach their parents. You know,
Right.
from
That
first
happened in my
grade.
husband's family.
Right.
Perfect. Well, we have so much more to talk about, but we're going to take a quick break. These segments, they just fly by. We'll be right back after these messages on Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
In southwestern and south central North Dakota, on any given day at any given moment, a Dakota Community Bank and Trust customer is logging in or signing on to do their online or mobile banking. We believe that community banking can blend both the past with down-home customer service in-house and the future with modern banking conveniences and technology for our customers anywhere, like here or here, all while honoring our long-standing tradition of community-first oriented banking here at Dakota Community Bank and Trust.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Beck Communications is hiring. Beck Communications is seeking qualified candidates for plant technicians in our Wheatland, North Dakota location. Beck Communications is an equal opportunity employer. To view the job details, visit www.beck.coop. To apply, email your cover letter and resume to careers@bechtel.coop. Beck Communications, making connections that matter.
Ever been in a cave before?
It's our first time.
All right.
Where are you going?
I'll see you at the car! But how will we? The car! Your offer's been accepted. Ever bought a house before?
It's our first time.
All right.
Where are you going?
I'll see you at the closing. But how will we? The closing!
The experienced professionals at Superior Glass provide residential and commercial glass installation and repair services in central and western North Dakota. Superior Glass is your source for stained glass projects, mirrors, windows, touchless, and automated entry solutions. Stop by and see us at 3323 East Broadway in Bismarck or call us at 701-258-5600. Superior Glass, where you get superior service for less. Bye for now.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. We have Kathy Froehlich who has joined us from the Standing Rock Reservation, but that's not your reservation per se, is it? You grew up north of here, didn't you?
Right. I'm a member of the Mandan Hidatsa Rikra Nation. Right.
And you are married to Rod Froehlich, and he used to be a legislator.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So
I can't even remember the dates, but
yeah, a few years back. But and I'm just going to, for our viewers, I just want to say that Rod is a white man, and so she lives in both worlds and has always, you know, that's just normal. And so we were talking between the break about how nowadays it's all turning into almost one race in a sense, where we shouldn't judge each other for color of their skin or what they do or where they're at. You know, we're all Americans is what we are. We are Americans for that matter. But so we were talking a little bit about years ago when I grew up, we'd play cowboys and Indians or cops and robbers and stuff like that. And so now culturally, things like that we're not supposed to do because we have Blue Lives Matter now too, and so cops are either good or they're not so good.
And
You know,
Black
so
Lives Matter.
and we never know what's appropriate anymore. Like, did your kids play cowboys and Indians?
No, I don't think they did. But when I grew up, I think media plays a big role in some of the things that our children are exposed to.
Sure.
You know, so when I grew up, there were a lot of old cowboy and Indian movies.
Right.
You know. And I remember when I was probably 5 or 4 years old, I was watching one and I didn't like what was happening on there.
Oh,
and I
yeah.
told my mom, I said, oh, gee, you know, something about the Indians, you know. And she said, well, Coco, you're Indian. That was my nickname.
Aw.
And I said, but I'm a good Indian. She always laughed about that.
Oh,
so
cute.
sometimes media, you have to be careful about what you see.
Sure.
You have to make sure you balance it out, you know, with other perspectives, kind of like your show is doing.
Right, absolutely.
Right? You get multiple perspectives,
It's
and
really
you try to provide a balanced view.
Absolutely.
Because that's really important.
We are another view that you're not hearing on the airwaves in other
Right.
places.
Right.
Yeah. And we
Right.
hope
Yeah.
to continue that.
And that's why we appreciate you coming on, because
Yeah.
it's all about getting to know each other and love each other as we are. We,
Right.
you know, we're all different races, we're all different political parties, but we're all friends, you know, and that's we have different churches. You know, speaking of churches, you know, you had brought up about the Native American religion. There's a book out there. It's called The Pipe and Christ. Have you ever read that by chance?
No, I haven't.
It shows how the Catholicism parallels the Sioux Native American religion. It's really interesting. So some of those things that you brought up, that was actually in there.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'll have to
interesting.
look at it.
So tell us about what you have on today.
Okay, well, I have on a ribbon skirt, and it's there's a whole story behind it. You can go on Google. That's the amazing thing, is you can Google information, and of course you have to be careful about what you find.
Right, right.
Make sure it's accurate.
Right.
I have a medallion, and this one was gifted to me by Corey Spotted Bear, and he's one of the councilmen for our reservation at Fort Berthold. And so one of the things is tribal people are very generous. That's one of our values, is generosity. And so it's not unusual that if you go to visit someone, they'll offer you food. If you go to visit someone, they may even give you a gift. One of the things that we were taught when I was growing up about going to someone's house is if they offer you food, no matter even if it's just a little bit, you always take a little bit, and you always partake of that.
Yes.
You know, and then you always give back some way by always offering to help, because you never know, they may be, you know, that may be hard, you know, hard for them to have that food.
Right.
And so those are some of the values. There are a lot of values that Native people have that I think we really need to get back to with our young people. And because of boarding school experience and some of the other things that Native people have gone through, we've kind of lost some of that.
Right.
And one of them is kinship. I think it's really important that our young people understand and remember that our kinship was there for a purpose. And that takes a whole segment in itself.
Well, you'll have to come back and tell us about that sometime if you would. That would be great. But tell us, we talked a little bit on the break about where you work. Tell us that.
Okay. Well, I work part-time for Central Regional Education Association, and they're one of the REAs in the state. And I've been really fortunate to be able to work there part-time. Prior to that, I worked for Sitting Bull College for 17 years. And then before that, I worked for the Indian Affairs Elementary School in Fort Yates for 15 years. Okay. So my education's been my life. But they have the position, one of the only REAs in the state that has a cultural coordinator position. So my role is to go out and support our tribal schools and other schools with ensuring that history and culture of our First Peoples in North Dakota is a part of the curriculum.
Yes.
And so I do want to put a plug in for North Dakota because they have developed North Dakota Essential Understandings. So if you Google Teaching of Our Elders, you'll find videos that the state have put together with the help of some consultants from out of state. If you want to learn about the culture, go on there and listen to the elders. And there are lesson plans on there for teachers.
Nice.
So that's really, really important. But I wanted to talk about CREA a little bit.
Absolutely, I'm glad you did. And when I went to college up at Minot State, I know all my friends that went into teaching, they had to take Native American Studies. And I think that's a great program as well, because as they're teaching these kids, I mean, the culture is different. It is different. And there's just things that we need to be cognizant of going into and teaching kids, you know, that there are cultural differences.
And I remember years ago, I don't remember if they came, which reservation they came from, but there were a group of women that put on this teaching, learning seminar, and it was a curriculum they had developed for Native American children because I remember from it, it's many years ago, but it was about how Native American children are maybe geared a little different in their learning styles and how their curriculum changed how they taught these things. And it was a lot of the history of the peoples and everything included, but it was taught in different ways than what's the normal classroom presentation, I guess. Is that something that's still ongoing? I don't know whatever happened with that. I didn't stay in that.
There's still, you know, there's always ongoing teaching methods and strategies that are being used, you know, but not just with Native children, but with all children, you know. The research is, they're finding out that all of our kids have different styles. Some are kinesthetic, some are hands-on, some are auditory, you know, visual learners. So as teachers, I think wherever you are, you have to remember to know your students, you know. And then one of the things I think for teachers is be sure and come into a community as a learner, not as the expert.
Sure.
I think that's really important.
Yeah, I think teachers are learning that kids don't all fit into that one box.
Right.
There's some on the outskirts. I can remember when one of my kids, they'd gotten new iPads at one of the schools, and he was on his iPad, and it's like the teacher had called on him. Well, he knew the answer. He goes, "Let me see the iPad," because he thought he was not paying attention. So he grabs the iPad, and he goes, "Mary, it said how to fake an English accent." So this is what, you know, so, but the whole time he's teaching the class, my child, I won't name the child, knew the answer but he could multitask. And it's like, and the teacher just absolutely loved him. But we have about a minute left. Is there something that you want us to know or want our viewers to know? Is there something you'd love to share with us?
Who do we plug into? Where do we plug in to learn more as far as the culture?
I was going to say that North Dakota Essential Understandings, Teaching of Our Elders, if you want to know more, you can go on there, listen to the elders, and they're all topics, you know, about the values, about some of the storytelling. Storytelling is amazing.
Wonderful.
You know, and so that's what I do when I go into the schools, is help support those kinds of teachings.
Okay.
You know,
Perfect.
storytelling is powerful.
Perfect. You know, we are going to have to run to another break here, Kathy. We appreciate you being on.
Thank you.
I'll throw this out there. If you want to stay for another segment, we'll keep you. We will, but I have to know in 3 seconds.
I probably will have to head out here.
Okay, all right. So we'll be right back after these messages.
Thank you.
On Ladies of Another View on Back.
Howdy folks, it's the Caroline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our hay-bossing breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous Caroline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon-rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve. Through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. We twisted Kathy's arm and she decided to stick around with us. And you were talking about the family. Why don't you talk about that first and then we'll jump into a few more questions.
Oh, okay, sounds good. Well, I was just going to touch upon a little bit of Native American kinship model. So what I have here is a picture that was taken at my mother's, I think it was 100th birthday party. And for tribal people, at least for the Sanish people, the kinship model looks like this. If you were to Google kinship models for tribal people. So instead of looking like your Western,
like a family tree
right,
that goes
tree,
up and down,
ours goes like this. And the reason why is because, you know, here my brother, my sister, and my mother in the middle, their children and my children, we don't say first cousins. There's no such thing as first cousins.
Okay.
They're all brothers and sisters.
Pull it forward this way. Put it between you and Carmen a little bit so the camera can get a better shot.
Yeah.
So everyone's considered a brother and sister, you said?
Yeah, there's no such word for cousins.
Oh.
So, and the other thing is that my brother's grandchildren are also my grandchildren.
Okay.
Yeah, and so
that's cool.
Yeah, it is. And so a short story. My husband, who's non-native, German Russian, his dad never understood why when we'd go to the powwow, some kids would be running around, you know, and they'd come up to him and they'd say, "Uncle, uncle," and my father-in-law would say, "You're not their uncle," or they'd come up and say, "Grandpa, grandpa," and he'd say, "You're not their grandpa." But in tribal way, we're extended. We have an extended kinship model. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's kind of hard to understand. But recently I spoke to a couple from Russia, and interesting enough, their kinship model is similar. They kind of have a similar extended family. So it means a lot, and it makes things interesting because when we have a gathering, all these family members, the expectation for our community is they all come and help. If there's a funeral, they all come and help. If there's something, a ceremony, a naming ceremony, they all are, the expectation is they all come and help. So it is a little different, you know?
That's why I have a lot of friends who are Native, and everyone's an auntie.
Right.
And it's like they're all aunties.
Yeah.
So
That's very cool. So with that type of setup with the family kinship, marrying into the German-Russian, you know, I mean, because they all split down. They're talking about first and second cousins once and twice removed, and the kids don't even realize they're related to some of them.
Right. Yeah, it's an adjustment, but so I always have to say that our kids, Rod and I think our kids, it's a blessing because they had to walk in two worlds.
Yes.
And they had to understand that, okay, this is the social rule here, this is a social rule here, you know? So I think that's part of, understanding each other. Yeah.
So the fact that we're all becoming blended is kind of a good thing.
Yeah.
And if we did that more on a social level as well as familial, we'd probably be a little bit more healed.
Yeah,
I think you're right. That's a good point, Jan. Our whole country right now is broken and fractured. If we all just got along, and you know, we're not all going to you know, appreciate every quality that everybody has, you know, but you take I was telling you that Indian friend of mine down in South Dakota, he said, take the best of the good and just discard the rest. So don't worry about the stuff that's harmful and hurtful, but just go forward and with people that that are special or mean a lot to you, you know, just concentrate on the good is what I'm trying to say, and let some of that other stuff kind of fall to the wayside.
Don't you think that we also need to decide who it is we listen to in our lives? You know, when we used to listen to our parents and our grandparents and other elders in our lives, we learned the values that are needed to move forward. You know, you look back, my generation, 50s, 60s, 70s, and how life was at that time. And we did things a lot differently back then. There was a different type of discipline. There was a different type of expectation. Growing up, there were different things that each person was tasked with to learn in order to get along with other people. You know, a lot of us didn't learn color or race or even ethnicity to a degree when we were growing up because it didn't matter. I mean, it totally didn't matter. I remember there was a home that was about a half a block from where I grew up in South Bismarck. It was the Charles Hall Youth Center. And my best friend growing up was a gal there, and people would say things like, "Why are you hanging out with that Indian?" She wasn't an Indian to me, she was my girlfriend. I didn't see color, I didn't see any differences between us. We both spilled taffy on the hot sidewalk, and we both got in trouble because we didn't come home on time. I mean, we keep dwelling on differences instead of what we have in common.
Right, absolutely.
I think that's a really excellent point. Excellent point. You know, they talk about the cancel culture now too, and it's like, they're telling you, oh, by the way, your feelings should be hurt. It's like, wait a minute, it didn't hurt my feelings. It didn't hurt my feelings. You can tell me a German joke or a Polish joke. It won't. I'm not Polish, by the way.
I am.
Oh, there. So we have a Polish here. So you know, that's what makes us one big country. We have to celebrate each other's differences. Andrea, what nationality are you by chance?
It's a long list.
A long list, she
Heinz
said.
57, right?
Heinz 57.
Norwegian, Swedish, German from Russia, and then Irish, Scottish, and undefined. My dad's side of the family.
Undefined. So she's basically, because Kathy can't hear her, she doesn't have an earpiece, but a little bit of everything from Europe, I guess, and a small section that's undefined. So hey, you know, we don't know what that is, but it's just interesting, right? But you know, it's just interesting. I want to put this one photo up, and it's about blaming people. It is a little gal, here it says, asking her to apologize for slavery is like asking her to apologize for Pearl Harbor. Now, a lot of these atrocities happened years ago, decades ago, centuries ago.
Right.
But to blame the current people of the land for things that happened that our forefathers did, you know, that's difficult to swallow. And I know sitting here, Native Americans, I mean, it hasn't been that long ago, 150 years. I mean, how old is the state? About 130 years old, I think, the state of North Dakota?
Something like that, yep.
Something like that. So the wounds are still fresh. And so people have to understand that, hey, you know, there are some things that we need to mend. And I just think it's awesome that you came to help share some of that as far as the culture, because we all need to learn to appreciate each other like that.
Yeah.
I think we talked earlier about there's a show on TV on Tuesday nights, and it's called Finding Your Roots. And I found that so interesting that they have celebrities on there, and they're finding out who they are, you know. And yeah, it's just interesting to see how it impacts them. You know, some of them break down in tears when they hear about the struggles their ancestors had coming across from Europe or from Africa, you know. And then finding out that their ancestor was African American.
Yeah.
You know, like Johnny Cash was married to an African American woman first.
And I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was interesting. So.
Yeah.
All right. So our state is 132 years old. Ask me how I know. Thank you, Mark. We do have some little helpers in the background there. We appreciate that. But anyway, we have about 20 seconds left, and our next segment is going to be a little bit about cultural food and that type of stuff. So Kathy, if you want to stick around, you can. It's up to you. But we do have to take a break. We're always running out of time. But we'll be right back after these messages on Ladies of Another View on Beck.
There's nothing more important than family. And at Prairie Rose Family Dentists, we get it. That's why we have more locations, more dentists, specialists, extended hours, pediatric clinics, and even emergency appointments, so you can always be seen. Book your appointment today at prairierosedentist.com. Prairie Rose Family Dentists. We are family.
Deciding how to promote your business can be hard. Visit the professionals at Dakota Promotions and Printing and let them help you through your struggle. Dakota Promotions provides promotional items and apparel, from corporate gifts to team shirts and everything in between. With quick turnaround times and friendly service, they are your best choice. And best yet, you're shopping local. Visit them online at dakotapromo.com or stop in their showroom at 320 West Main in Mandan. Dakota Promotions, delivering promotions just for you.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Now is the best time to plan for your 2021 farm equipment needs. North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing is currently offering early order savings. Take advantage of big savings on North America's broadest tillage line, including the Super Kohler Samurai and the innovative BRT Renegade, as well as the best built, best backed land rollers in the industry. Talk to your Summers dealer today or go to summersmfg.com to learn more about early order savings available on all Summers equipment.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. It sure was a delight to have Kathy here, and she has taken off. We tried to talk her into it, but we'll get to visit more with Andrea now too. So we like to leave with the lighter side. We were going to go into this whole Dr. Seuss kind of cancel culture, and we can maybe touch on it a little bit, and then we'll go into our happy thoughts, shall we?
We should always be in our happy thoughts, don't you think?
But I wanted to just put this one photo up about at the White House. A couple years ago, about 6 years ago, Dr. Seuss wasn't a racist, but he is now. So take a quick look at this.
Yeah.
Okay, why wasn't Dr. Seuss racist when Michelle Obama invited him to the White House? I mean, so there you go. There you have it. It's like he's a children's author and great learning tools, and now all of a sudden, because of cancel culture, he's a racist.
Yep.
I do not like cancel culture in my house. I do not like it with a mouse.
Way to go.
Well, the Virginia GOP gubernatorial candidate bought up a ton of Dr. Seuss books, and he distributed them to all the kids in Virginia, just as a way to make a point. So that's a good thing.
That's perfect, absolutely.
Well, and once upon a time, I worked at this place where I did these things for my job, and I wound up getting an award, and the award that I got was accolades, but the gift was, "Oh, the places you'll go." And the boss had written some things inside of that, and I still have that book, and I kind of treasure it. It's like, because it's so appropriate when you're trying to reach goals and things like that. So
I got them for all my grandkids, so that each year of school, the teacher can write something in them for each one of the children.
Wow,
and
that's
I'd seen it somewhere else, so.
I think the great thing about the classics is that it can become a shared experience, that it's a book that not just every kid reads, but the past generations have too. So you can start to bridge some generational gaps because you have this shared experience having read this Dr. Seuss book. And that's for any of them. The high schoolers who have read Animal Farm, now they can discuss current events, and we can all share that as a reference point for what we're thinking and what we're seeing.
Right.
Yeah, very.
In 1984, and
because they're even trying to ban some of the fairy tales too. And I mean, it's like, where do we draw the line? I think as Americans, we just need to stand up.
They're banning Shakespeare now. Did you hear that?
I hadn't
some
heard
of the
that.
English teachers are canceling the works of Shakespeare because they say it's racist and homophobic and has to deal with classism. Come on.
Oh, come on.
Like you said, where do you draw the line?
Exactly.
And when it comes to homosexuality, okay, we know that it's there. It's it's not my preferred lifestyle. It is I have friends. It is what it is. But it's such a small population. So why does that get put up on a pedestal? Because it hurts their feelings. Certain things hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
Certain things hurt all of our feelings. And so, but why do some feelings count more than others?
We need to figure out how to draw the panties out of a wad in our little
there you go.
area there.
That's our new mission.
Like you said, suck it up.
Well, and I think, and I don't know about the rest of you on the panel, but I know within my own family, we have so many diverse people now. We're a very mixed marriage family at this point, from countries in several places and different skin colors within America. And it's like, why do my grandchildren have to go through all of this bickering? And they just want to play with their friends.
Right.
They don't,
Exactly.
And I think if we would just settle down a little bit, my gosh.
It reminds me, I'd seen this it was on social media. There was a little black boy and a little white boy, really a dark black too, and they both had short haircuts. And the little white boy said, "I can't wait to go to school because we're twins and she's not going to know us apart." Right. He didn't know the difference of their skin color because they were best friends and they had the same haircut and couldn't wait to go to school and surprise the teacher that she couldn't tell them apart.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about when we were kids.
Yep.
We didn't know something was different or wrong until they told us so. So it's where you put your thoughts and where you get your information and what you let dominate your life.
Right. So Andrea, leave us with a final thought. Something ethnic, food, something your family tradition did.
I didn't realize it was a family, it was a family tradition, but I didn't realize it was a cultural tradition. For Christmas, we always have meatballs and mashed potatoes, which sounds really generic until you realize they're Swedish meatballs.
There you go, right?
Right.
I don't know that anything that we had as favorites or traditions, so to speak, were culturally based at all.
Well, right. You probably had kraut and nip and schnitz and nip and all of that.
Not at all.
No.
No. I mean, I'm 3/4 German and 1/4 Polish. So we just ate what was affordable at the time that it was made, and you came to the table and ate what was served you.
There you go.
That's kind of the way it was, though, Jen. And the thing that surprised me was not knowing that some of those things were ethnic.
Yes.
They just kind of escape you because it's what you always have and it's normal.
Right.
Well, we knew at Christmas, especially. Lutefisked lefse,
Norwegian.
touchskara ha. We need a touchdown. Yeah. That was the big cheer. And so, but we always, and you had to have the whole potatoes. You couldn't have the mashed. And then if you had the mashed, it was just part of the deal. So,
wow.
Anyway,
well, what a great, well, we grew up with a lot of German food, and my kids do prefer that right now. But I guess we all have traditions, and just like we're talking to Kathy about the Indian tacos, but we got so much more. We're going to just have to do it on another day. Thank you for watching us, and stick around and follow the next shows that are coming up. We'll see you next time on Ladies of Another View on Beck.